Hello and greetings, good afternoon, good evening, depending which part of the world you live in. Today, I want to talk about first, welcome to the Lead from Your Soul podcast, Thoughtful Thursdays at noon with Dr. Aya. And today, we're going to talk about leadership and human development or adult development, which kind of connect into leadership development. But before I do that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Aya Akari. I'm just a young lady, an adventurer, a wayfarer, crossing continents and cultures only to discover the truth that unites us all, our interconnection with each other and the universe. My story is one of intense transitions. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, spent the first half of my childhood in Trip, North Africa, and the second half in Dublin, Ireland. And you don't have to be a cross-cultural specialist to imagine that's like living between worlds. I'm a certified leadership coach, credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. I'm an organizational leadership consultant, an emotional readiness coach, and mentor. I'm also a published author and a speaker, professional speaker. My goal is to transform the conception of leadership into one of inner peace, wisdom, and creation-based thinking. I empower leaders to lead from their souls through conscious awareness via coaching and mentoring. I help ambitious professionals, executives, and change leaders to excel. I help them beat burnout, enhance performance, productivity, and master the art of work-life balance. So, what is development and how does it relate to leadership? An interesting topic. So, the topics that I've studied in my postgraduate degree in organizational leadership, I felt that adult development was most fascinating and most relevant to our everyday life, even though it might be a little bit complicated or sound too academic. However, it makes a difference in terms of the kind of quality of life, the quality of relationships you have, the quality of job you have, the quality of your leadership skills. So, coaching and mentoring help with adult development. They help refine leadership skills and also help attain leadership competencies. How's that? Because with the coach, this is what I do. I actually do coaching and mentoring, which is based on my understanding of adult development. So, understanding how people transcend their current meaning making capacity. This is what development is about. It's about people's ability to grow. So they develop a higher level of understanding, a higher level of managing complexity and dealing with complexity. And for us to do that, develop self-awareness. And coaching helps with evoking awareness. So it helps you look within and see how you're interpreting your human experience, how you're interpreting the world around you, because the quality of your life depends on how you interpret your experience, how you and the world around you. And as a result, that affects the quality of your life, the quality of your leadership, the quality of your relationships with whether it's at work or at home. So which can lead to a happier life if you develop a higher level of understanding, if you develop yourself as a human being, as a person, then that would lead to a happier life, a more calm, confident, prosperous, successful life. So that's the practical application of understanding works. This is what you're trying to achieve, is that you want to have a higher quality of life. So I want to start with the story of a client I had. So when I first saw him, a young man, he was on antidepressants. He was in and out of a psychiatric hospital sometimes. He was playing video games for today. And then after a couple of sessions, he had a little break. And then when he came back, he was completely changed. So he had taken a job, full-time job. He started a relationship. He was going to a Bible study group, joined different clubs. And He was just really excited because he was not taking his medication anymore. He was happier, and he's also developing relationships. So part of his plan for transformation was that he would connect with his old friends. And it was an interesting conversation because he was a little bit disappointed about this specific friend that did not want to connect with him. And that was like that's where I provided some help in terms of coaching on that. And I explained to him that sometimes when we grow, part of the transformation is that we leave people behind, we leave jobs behind, groups behind, sometimes even like your whole outfit, the way you dress changes, your neighborhood, you might even change countries and change jobs. And then sometimes, we outgrow friends, and, people that are not able to keep up with us, they're not able to develop, so they don't feel comfortable being around us. And it was very interesting because his response was enlightening. He said, sometimes we even grow our teeth. We outgrow our teeth, which is what happens when you're a child, right? You outgrow your baby teeth. And I was like, oh my God, that's so interesting. Like this whole level of his awareness has risen so much. It has changed, completely transformed. And I was like, yeah, actually outgrow our body parts. So we outgrow our baby teeth, which means we can outgrow people, things, neighborhoods. We can outgrow our old self. And that's okay, not being disappointed about that, because it's a sign of growth. So, and also to anticipate that sometimes that when we do develop and there are people in our lives that don't want to develop, or we develop into a better way of dressing, a better way of looking at things, a better way of living. So you might even move out of your neighborhood or your country or your job, might get promoted, or you might even change to a completely new job. So the understanding is that that's how people develop. So what happens on the outside, you see the person, their life has changed, the way they dress, the way they talk, their friends, the groups they hang out with. And what really happens on the inside at the psychological level is that they have developed, they have risen to a higher level of consciousness or standing. And that's what adult development is. I'm trying to simplify this whole idea. So how is adult development related to leadership? They are intimately related, because our level of development determines our capacity for leadership. Your level of understanding, the higher ability to lead from a place of understanding, wisdom, and clarity. So, based on leadership literature, this is actually a quote from a study. Most psychologists agree that what differentiates leaders not their style of leadership or even their personality, rather it's their action logic. What's an action logic? It's a term used in leadership literature to describe how we interpret, or how the leaders interpret, their surroundings and how they react to challenges to power and safety. So that's your action logic. If your action logic is down here, then how you interpret your reality is going to be limited. How you react to challenges to power and safety is going to be also not very open-minded, not common sense. Whereas when you go up here, then as your action logic develops, then your ability to deal with complexity increases. And then when you have these challenges, you're able to deal with them from a place of clarity, common sense, wisdom. So you don't feel threatened, and you're more likely to maintain a positive organizational culture, whether that organization is your family. The higher level of understanding, the better is your leadership, the happier is the organization or the family that you're leading. Okay, so where does leadership intersect with adult development? Both leadership and adult development are dynamic in the sense that they are continually evolving. So you don't stop in development unless you're just intentionally not wanting to grow. Otherwise, generally, we evolve as leaders, we evolve as human beings. They are cumulative, so each stage is built on this previous stage. So if you've been a leader 20 years, it's different than if you're a leader 10 years, but also depends on how much you're investing in yourself and how much you're willing to develop yourself. And both of them are cultivated through challenges. challenges. And a challenge comes your way. It's your choice to embrace that challenge and use it as a launching pad for you to grow, or you can resist this, which is a lot of the time what causes pain and suffering, is that we resist these challenges because they are coming our way for a reason and they help us grow. If we're embracing them, we develop a higher level of complexity. So structured interventions. So people develop themselves through self-reflection. That improves with self-awareness. There's also coaching and mentoring, and coaching helps with evoking awareness. So it helps you raise your level of self-awareness, and that helps you grow in terms of action logic. It'll help you rise. There's also tension and conflict for both leadership and adult development. When you have conflict, even though we try to avoid conflict generally as human beings, it can also help us grow because then we develop our skills of dealing with people and improving relationships. Also tension, then it's a sign of growth. So it's up to you whether you see tension or conflict as a problem or a challenge that will help you grow. So it's a tool that you use. It depends on how you interpret your experience. If you get terrified of it and you overreact, or if you act with rage or anger or resentment, then obviously that conflict is not going to serve you, or whatever, the tension or the challenge. But if you're acting from a place of wisdom, you do rise in terms of understanding, in terms of your leadership capacity and competencies. Your ability to lead will evolve. And there are different development theories they have developed throughout history. They have different focuses. However, they're all have common aspect that they're progressive. So each builds upon the previous and basically adds a spin to it, a new spin. They're dynamic, so they're fluid. They keep changing. So the movement, the adult movement, is non-linear in the sense that we just keep going up and down, and it's almost like waves and spirals rather than, oh, I go up here and I step here. That we actually fluctuate depending on how we're feeling, what's going on in our life, emotional, physical, psychological, mental factors. They all affect our level of development. So, but the good thing is you never permanently go back to your initial level of development. Once you go up here, you can't stay down there for permanently. You just keep moving up and down. It's fluid, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to go up, but then what's the point? I'm going to come down. You will come down temporarily, but you will not go back to your previous action logic or level of understanding permanently. And they all represent an ascent, an increase or a rise in consciousness, or consciousness's ability to understand and deal with complexity. Okay, so what is development? So there's a definition for development, and it is the expansion in people's ability to understand their personal and interpersonal world. So ability to understand and reflect on your personal world and also interpersonal. So when you're talking interpersonal, it's like other people, the world around you, which is made possible by increasing differentiation of oneself from others with the level, different levels of understanding. Like born, they feel like they're part of their parents. And then as you grow, it's like you're part of the community, you try to conform to community. But then as you become more self-authored, then you differentiate from yourself from others. And you realize that, okay, I'm a separate individual. I can make my own choices. I can author my own story. I don't have to live up to whatever expectations others want of me. So I choose, this is the kind of path that's right for me. I hear my own calling. I respond. I look within. So being able to differentiate oneself from others is very important in terms of growth and development at the psychological and mental level. And then also the integration of the undifferentiated view into a complex and encompassing view. So you are able to have a more, you see the big picture, there's more understanding, there's more complexity in the way you interpret your experience, the way you view the world. And development, when you're talking about development, you're talking about anything from your ability to manage complexity, author your own voice, create your own narrative of your life. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we're talking about enlightenment and transcendence. So it really, you're probably wondering, how does this apply to me? It really does affect our day-to-day life, even though we don't see it. So like, you're not going to sit there and analyze your level of understanding or your action logic, but it shows in the way you behave and you respond to situations. So for example, the story about this man, let's call him Mr. D, and he was very unhappy with his life. And it was always like, if only I'll be happy, if only I got out of this unhappy marriage, I quit this stressful job, I moved from the frenzied city life to calm countryside. With people that operate from that level of understanding is that when they go into that new job or new relationship or new home, they bring that level of understanding with them. So they are still unhappy. And it comes down to the point that we actually understand that we create our reality to our interpretation of our experience, and we have power over that. But if we don't understand that, we disempower ourselves because we give over that power, that charge over our life. We give it over to external circumstances, and then we wonder why we're unhappy. So this specific man, he had changed homes 4 times, changed his job five times. He was just stressed out to the point where he's unable to sleep, and he was like having anger outbursts, so anger issues, and thinking of quitting his job. And when he talked about his job, it was just like, all these people don't respect my time, they don't respect my priorities, they push my buttons. And it's like, oh, the next time my boss talks to me or asks something of me, I'm just going to quit. And just living from that level of understanding. And then he did seek help, so he did get emotional resilience coaching, and that kind of helped him, kind of helped him raise his level of awareness. The thing is, sometimes it's just like, it's a shift, and the shift happens at the right time. It doesn't have to happen. There is no specific time for it. It's just like, okay, once you seek help, you try to develop your understanding, then over time, these insights starts coming in, and until you have this one big realization and understand how you're self-sabotaging your own life. So this boss came in and he said, we want you to cancel all your plans. I need you to fly to California. We have some sort of emergency there. And his response was reactive. He was impulsive, reactive, and he refused. And he told his boss that he wants to quit. He stormed out of the office, then was speeding and got pulled over by a police officer who gave him a ticket. And that's when he stopped there, and the realization just landed on him. It dawned on him. He realized that he was out of control. He was impulsive. He was ruining his life. And it wasn't other people ruining his life. So he thanked the police officer. Interesting. And then he felt like that was a wake up call to say that, you're just going in the wrong path. And a lot of the time, we're being guided by wisdom. A lot of the time, you get these signals or these signs to say, okay, you're just not in alignment, you are not. And a lot of the time we ignore these things, and they just get louder and louder. For some people it's burnout, for some people it's divorce, for others it's quitting a job, or it could be anything. But if we recognize these signals early on, then we prevent them from getting louder. So that was his turning point, realizing that, maybe it's not them pushing my buttons, because idea was like, it's always their fault, and he wanted to move away from negative influences. So his way was just kind of run away from whatever he thought was causing his problems. But then once his life shifted, everything changed in his life. And from an adult development perspective, he just basically transcended his current level of meaning making capacity to a higher level of understanding, a higher action logic. Next day, he went in, he apologized to his boss, and he said, what a great job. That's going to give me a chance to travel to California and have some fun. So he did travel, did his assignment, and his way back, he felt this warm, fuzzy feeling of gratitude, realizing it's like, I have this great job. They're sending me to California. So which is very different from his initial reaction, which is like, they don't respect my time. They want me to cancel my plans. Whereas it's like, okay, I actually like this job. He realized he loved his job. It was just his way of perception or interpretation of that job was affecting his quality of life. So he was no longer unhappy. He realized that his happiness is within his control. His anger is within his control. It's all coming from within. The answer lies within. And that all these people that were pushing his buttons, making him angry, it was just himself pushing his buttons. He was allowing others and external circumstances to control his life. And when he made the decision that he wants to take charge of his life, so he was empowered. Because You get that psychological freedom when we give over that power over our life to other external circumstances. We get disempowered, and when we take back, then we reclaim ourselves, and then we realize that the grass on the other side isn't greener. You just need a new pair of glasses, a new perspective, and new way of higher level of understanding, developing yourself. So if you're a leader, a parent, or any individual, to be honest, and then you feel like you get to a point where you just hitting a dead end, that things are not making sense, not going the right way, then maybe it's time for you to develop yourself a situation or interpret it from a different perspective. Perhaps it's a challenge for you that's coming to help you grow, and just being able to embrace that and seeing ways around it and dealing it from a place of wisdom rather than reacting from being impulsive or reactive, and seeing it as a blessing to grow. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I'd like to hear your feedback and your takeaways, because that would be very interesting. I know it's a little bit of a complex topic. I wanted to kind of simplify it in the sense that it is something that's applicable to our everyday life. It actually affects the quality of our life, the level of our happiness, our calm and confidence in our life, and being able to just have an idea, a little like an understanding of how it works from a psychological perspective. Can be interesting. I'd love to hear your feedback, takeaway. If you're watching from YouTube, please like and subscribe. And again, this is Dr. Aya Akeri, leadership and emotional resilience coach and mentor, organizational leadership consultant. And you can download my free goal setting workbook and guidebook on my website, www.drayakeri.com. And also you can buy my new book, Lead From Your Soul, The 4 Worldviews of Inspiring Leaders. You can find it on Amazon and also on my website. Thank you and have a wonderful day.